Hello guys and welcome back to Crazy About Kickoff. Today we are talking about the situation at Derby County. Wayne Rooney's men are fighting valiantly back from a 21-point deduction. They are on a 4-game unbeaten streak as we speak, and we're joined by Luke Frower, Derby fan and journalist who's worked with the Derby Telegraph, ESPN and Football London. But where did it all start? How did the club get in this mess?
So it's been something that's been coming for a little while. In terms of there was quite a bit of overspending back in about 2015 or so. There was a window where we spent about 30 million trying to get out of the Championship because previous owner Mel Morris was very ambitious, wanted to try and get us out of the league. It didn't work, obviously. Failed to get out of the league, and there was different ways he tried to get around FFP catching up. Eventually, it sort of caught up to the point where there was then a legal battle in court with the EFL, and we were deducted 9 points for that. And then there was the time where we just went into administration as well because he felt as though the club couldn't go ahead with him in charge. So we took the 12-point knock for that as well. So it ended up being minus 21 points. Because of that, there was a very strict embargo and weren't allowed to sign anyone unless they were on a free 6-month deal. So the squad became very bare bones and kind of in this position they are now. I think it's 10 from the last 12 now. So I think the impressive thing is I think there's very little expectation, obviously, for the club to stay up. So I think that helps a bit. But Rooney's improved as a tactical manager, I think. I think he's very in tune with what the side needs to do. He's got his substitutes right recently. And there's a little bit of luck along the way as well. He happened to trip upon this 5 at the back system a couple of weeks ago due to COVID absences and that. And since then, the 5 at the back's worked really well as well. So I think it's just a mixture of Rooney's really in tune. There's some players that are really fighting for this club. And it seems like it's almost the perfect storm with them being underdogs at the moment. They're going to every game fighting for it and, not expecting much, but somehow coming away with something every time at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dramatic late equaliser the other day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of them where actually I thought Derby were the better side against Reading. Just struggled and switched off at the wrong times with second balls and some of the long balls in the air, especially when they got Andy Carroll up top. It's a little bit difficult trying to deal with that. But this team, I think I tweeted about it the other day. They're absolute mentality monsters. They just don't know when they're beat at the moment, and I think that's what they have over someone like Reading, where at the moment they've obviously been deducted points and they're struggling a little bit. But I think their fans feel like their team isn't fighting for them, whereas I think Derby fans certainly feel like this team is fighting for them, even if they end up going down to League One.
Yeah, that's what you want, and it really even if obviously it's unlikely you're going to stay up with a 21-point deduction. So if it looks like the lads are at least trying the very, very, very hardest, then you can sort of forgive them because it's not really their fault. But I think, as you said, with the togetherness and stuff as well, can they do it? You think?
It's a real big task because I think if you're looking at the average to stay up, it's still looking at needing over 1.5 points per game. If they get through the next bunch of games, you're able to take 7 from the next 3 or something like that.
Some tough games come up though. You've got Sheffield United at home, Nottingham Forest away, Birmingham at home, and then Huddersfield away.
Yeah, difficult, but it's the Championship. Everyone can beat everyone, and I think that's the main thing. Is but what
it's very probably telling the lads as well, isn't it?
Exactly,
everyone can beat everyone. We can beat whoever. I mean, you beat West Brom. Was it about 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
yeah, managed to
one
beat
of the
them.
best sides in the league. So
yeah, I think that's what we'll just be saying to them. We'll be saying that you've got to take it game by game. But he said it at the start of the season. If I manage to keep us up with this, then it'll be one of his greatest achievements. And a lot of people probably took that for what it was, but it's been spoken almost into existence now that there's a little bit of a chance. So who knows?
Yeah, no, it is. Like Derby, I think at the start of the season, I think most people's opinions of it was well, that'll be quite a good save on Football Manager to do with a bit of a challenge. And as it's gone on, I've sort of started following Derby this season a bit more because I mean the squad you've got is a combination of young players getting thrown in the deep end, the deepest of ends really, and veterans who sort of either probably have like ties to Rooney or know him well from previous parts of football, and it just seems now it's becoming a perfect storm, and I think the mentality thing is really important, isn't it? Because you look at the young players who are showing the fearlessness of it. I think some of your young players this season have been pretty sensational. I think Ebesele, from what I've seen of him, is a player. I think Derby fans don't rate his first touch sometimes, but I think he's been a really good player. But then you combine that with players like Richard Stearman and Curtis Davis and players like that, and it almost has become a team of players you never expect to play together with a manager that you never expect to be in this situation, and yet it all seems to be coming up well really at the moment.
Yeah, exactly that. I think one of my criticisms of the squad, if I was to look at it, is that probably not got any players in their prime, sort of that 25 to 28, 29 range. But that might be part of the reason why they're doing so well, because you've got older heads that, they've got the experience and they probably want to give this one real last go. And you've got the young kids who have nothing to lose and want to go for it. If you've got a player that's 27, 28, thinks, I don't really want to fight for this. I've got another big contract somewhere. Perhaps they don't want to fight for it. So perhaps actually the current squad is perfect for this kind of battle. And they battled it out last season as well. So,
And I think you talk about players in your prime. Probably the one player you've got who's maybe in his prime and playing like it is Tom Lawrence, who's taken the armband in recent game in some of them as well, and he's sort of stepped into a role that probably he wasn't expecting really, because I saw him when he was on loan at Ipswich and he looked like a half decent player, but at Derby he's really sort of taking his sort of the quality he has compared to some of the other players and stepped up to the plate really, I would say.
yeah, I think he's struggled the last couple, but he has just come back from COVID. So, can't really fault him for that at all, especially being able to play like 75 minutes in each game. But he's that one player that you kind of think he's got a goal in him, and he's, you want him to take responsibility of his game and to go forward and to go and score.
He's, like we were saying, maybe the only player in his sort of prime, but yeah, you are taking a group of players and a manager, and all of them are defying expectation really. And what is it like? Because we obviously, as fans of clubs who hopefully will never have to have the fear of a relegation and struggling near the bottom of the table. How's it changed? Because I've seen a lot of praise towards sort of the atmosphere for both home and away support for Derby. What's the atmosphere been like at Pride Park?
I think it's been one that wants to get behind the team, and I think the good thing is the team are giving them something to get behind, because I think it'd be very easy to sit there, go, this season is finished. You could easily sit there and go, well, I'm not going to bother going. I'm not going to, bother getting behind this team. But the team are giving them something to get behind. And I think that's important, especially with a team that's in administration and does need bodies through the door. So I don't think it's just about this season and getting the atmosphere behind that. It's behind the club as a whole. If them drawing 2-2 against Reading gets another 2,000 in against Sheffield United, that could mean the club survives for another month. That means they could survive in general. And I think that is so much more important than just staying up, because, if the Rams manage to stay up, that'd be amazing. And I don't think anyone faults that. But I think what everyone really wants the end of it is a football club just to go back to.
Yeah, you look at Bury and clubs like that, and could easily went that way. Obviously, I think it's like a sense of injustice though, because it did from the outside, from someone who obviously doesn't really support Derby, doesn't really look at the stuff around them. But obviously, when that was all over the news and stuff, it was like kind of felt like he just got treated a bit harshly. Is he a sense of injustice there, do you think?
I think it's difficult when a side is ruffling feathers. I think that's the difficult thing, because the punishment was to do with amortization of players in finances. So the way you break down a player's value over their contract. So we were doing it the Premier League way, which was you just do it all at the end. Whereas the way the EFL wanted to do it was that it degrades over the span of the contract. So because of that, that's where the 9 points came from. The problem was that it was, I think what annoyed a lot of people was it was retrospective. So, originally there was no issue with it, but then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there is an issue with it many years down the line. So I think people are annoyed at that. They're annoyed at the fact that Wickham and Middlesbrough are still pursuing a legal case against the club, despite the fact they're in administration, which can threaten the club, because what owner wants to go in unsure whether they're going to have to do a legal case against 2 other football clubs, because they both felt as though if Derby hadn't cheated FFP, then they would have stayed up, or Middlesbrough would have got into the playoffs. So, it feels like there's some real backs against the wall stuff, but I think it also reinforces how the fans feel that it's them against the world, and it gets them behind the team even more.
Yeah, it certainly seems like a team and a team manager and fans all united. Ultimately, do you think that you do manage to stay up? If you have to say yes or no, just give us an answer, or you can give us justifications or lack of justifications if you want. But do you think so?
I'm gonna say no, purely because I think it's just too much to do. I think there's too many. There's just way too much to do, and it depends a lot on what happens in January regarding a takeover and player sales. But I would say that no is very much more 60-40 than it was a month, 2 months ago. So there is a little bit of hope there, which is promising to say.
Yeah, no, that's good. I've got one quick question. Sorry, just before we finish off. Obviously, the biggest thing surrounding it is the trying to find new owners, and we've seen over the last few months, like just today, Southampton got an £100 million takeover, and West Ham have had whatever it was, £700 million or stupid number investment. Is there any potential like rumours about new owners? Because I think there was a time where there was, not that long ago, meant to be someone interested, but that's sort of gone to the back burner. Is there any sort of inclination that there might be a new owner on the horizon?
So there is inclination from the admin team that a preferred bidder is imminent, though that was said on, I want to say, Christmas Eve. So it depends how you use the word imminent, because I would have thought that would be 24, 48 hours. But here we are when we're recording on the 4th of January, and they've still not named the preferred bidder. But it seems as though there is someone set to come in at some point. There's some finer details to be sorted. But once a preferred bidder comes in, as I understand, they then put money into an account, and then the club can do stuff like sign new contracts for the likes of Jagielka, who is out of contract. I think it might be the 14th or 15th of this month, or it might be after Sheffield United.
In, really, don't you?
Yeah, it's tying down players like that. Even if you tie down the likes of Ebasele, as you said as well, who are on contracts that you want to keep them around for next year. You don't want them to get poached at all. It's building for the future as well as for now. So I think, there's something going on. I'm just hoping that it's sorted soon.
Fair enough.
Yeah, all the best. We'll leave it there, and hopefully you stay up, because what a story that will be.